I would be willing to bet that you have probably already seen a lot about cold plunge therapy and sauna therapy and the benefits of it and the biohacking and all of these trends, right? This revolution of holistic health, of biohacking, and all of it's good. A lot of it is true, but there is one benefit that I'm sure you haven't heard a ton about. It's not really talked about enough, and it's one that we focus on a lot at Polarity Plunge. The stuff that you probably have heard has been the sauna is so good for detoxing. The sauna will help you work out your heart. It's really good for your cardiovascular health. It's really good for, after you sauna, jumping in a cold plunge for muscle soreness, for inflammation. Cold plunges are really good for your dopamine, which is your neurochemical for drive and motivation. It boosts your mood. It releases endorphins. So your feel-good chemicals. All of these things are focused, a lot of these studies, a lot of the science is focused on your brain and your body, which is really important for contrast therapy. But there is one thing that's even deeper, and I believe even more important, that contrast therapy can give us. It goes past the brain, it goes past the body, it goes even deeper than the science, and touches on that soul level of what we need as humans today in these modern times. And that is presence. Contrast therapy is so good for presence. We live in a world today where we are constantly going, constantly running. It's a sickness that we have just grown accustomed to, so we don't even realize that it's a sickness at this point. I believe that the biggest temptation of our time is distraction. The biggest obstacle for us to overcome is noise. We're constantly ingesting through listening, through watching, through running around, software. If we think of our brains like a software system, we're constantly downloading stuff. Think about how much noise, how much garbage, how much random scattered content we are absorbing and we are downloading day to day to day to day to day. Now, this isn't our fault. This is just the world that we have been born into. But because of it, because there's so much noise on the outside, in our external reality, in our world, it's really, really, really hard to quiet the noise that is in our internal world. It's really difficult to get still. It's really difficult to get quiet. And it's really difficult to get present. But it doesn't have to be this way. As soon as we're aware of the issues that we have at hand, we can start practices that give us this presence. Presence is the antidote for all of the noise, all of the distraction, all of the temptations that we have around us to just idle away our time or to fill our time and our schedules with so many to-dos and so much busyness that it's really hard for us to get present at the end of the day. So, I wanted to talk a little bit today on this video about one, awareness around the noise, awareness around the distraction and how detrimental it can be for us. And two, how we can start implementing the presence practices into our life to relax back into that stillness, into that being. We are not human doings, we are human beings. And so being a human being entails learning how to be. There's one of my favorite quotes that talks about all of man's problems stem from his inability or her inability to sit quiet in a room alone. It's really hard for us to do this. And because of that, there is a lot of suppressed thoughts, feelings, beliefs, behaviors that we don't acknowledge and we don't look at. That's actually what's happening is we're playing a hand in our own suffering, and we don't realize it because we don't have this ability and this practice really to be still. and to start to observe our thoughts, our emotions, our beliefs, our behaviors. This is one of the biggest things that contrast therapy has done for me. And I'm going to get to how specifically we focus on this polarity plunge, but I want to hit a little bit more on the issue that we have at hand. One of my other favorite quotes by Mary Oliver is that devotion is the... No, what's the quote? Devotion... Oh no, I'm saying it backwards. Attention is the beginning of devotion. So whatever we're paying attention to is what we are actually devoted to. It's what we're Let me say this again. It is what we worship. It is what we are in devotion to, whatever we're putting our attention to. So let me ask you this question. What is the first thing that your mind goes to when you wake up in the morning? Where are you placing your attention in the morning? Where are you placing your attention the majority of your day? What is your attention on? As you get home at night and as you get ready to go to bed and you start your evening, your routine, where is your attention placed? Where is your mind, consciously or unconsciously, drifting to? Wherever your attention is being placed consistently and constantly, that is what you are worshiping. So if your attention is placed on your day-to-day and your work, then you are worshiping your day-to-day and your work. If your attention is placed on your stress and the issues you're trying to solve and the problems, then you are worshiping your problems. You're worshiping your stress in a way. You're devoted to that stress because that's where you're placing your attention. At night, when you're getting ready for bed, where is your attention? Is your attention on social media? Is it on entertainment? If that's what it is, then that's what you're devoted to. That's what you are worshiping in a way. And we have, because of the byproduct of Western society and how it is structured, we have two false gods in which we worship quite often. These two false gods are the false gods of accomplishment and the false gods of accumulation. Accomplishment being, what more can I accomplish? What more can I do? Right? We're human doings instead of human beings. What checklist can I mark all the boxes to do today? In the bigger picture, what can I accomplish in my career? What can I accomplish in my life that will make my life worth it or make me earn some state of worthiness or of love? Accomplishment is a big false god in which we worship. Accumulation is another. We want to get more stuff. We focus on what we lack. We focus on, for example, the promotion. We might have a really good job, but we could have one better. So let's accumulate. Let's accumulate the house. Let's accumulate the car. Let's accumulate more stuff for me, for my family. These are very common false gods, accomplishment and accumulation. Now, I'm not saying that accomplishment and accumulation are bad in and of themselves. That's not the point. The money, for example, isn't bad in and of itself, but the love of money is the root of all evil, right? In the Bible, it's the love, it's the attention, the hyper attention, the overly attentiveness that we're putting on these things. That's what we're worshiping. That's what we're making our life a devotion to these things. That's what we love. Now, how do we untangle ourselves? How do we start to rewind and get grounded and get present in our life right now and not always be focusing on what we can accomplish or what we can accumulate or this destination mindset? A very good analogy with this is that of the destination mindset, where we have this place that we need to get to, and I will be happy when I get there. That's the destination mindset. In reality, life is supposed to be lived in the present moment. Life is supposed to be about the journey. But all of the cultural conditioning and just the way that our society and our world has been lived for generations now, we have inherited this destination mindset. I promise I'm going to tie this all back to contrast therapy, and it's going to be so mind-blowing, because this is the one practice that I have found that has revolutionized my life in my ability to be grounded, to be present, to enjoy the journey instead of just be about the destination, to turn my attention away from these false gods of accumulation and accomplishment and turn my attention to the present moment and to where I am at and to gratitude and to love that I already inherently am. This contrast therapy, this practice, allows me to do it in such a way that it is so natural. And yes, there's some tensions, yes, there's some emotions and some thoughts and some beliefs that I would rather not sit with, that I would rather not perhaps at first face or confront. But if I can feel through those things, and if I can think through those things as I spend my just 2 sessions a week, even with contrast therapy, I begin to arrive on this other side. And it's not about the arrival, right? It's about the journey. But I begin to journey on this other side of actually felt sense perception and actually a real sensory feeling of presence. And that's what I'm trying to get to. So I'm probably going to do multiple videos on this, but I hope that I've illustrated some of the issues that we deal with in our modern times, some of the temptations that we have. The temptation of distraction, which, just a little side note here, distraction being one of our biggest temptations, social media alone is such a vacuum of our attention, of our time, of our energy. Social media and the platforms of social media, they call their client base, us, users. There's only 2 industries or 2 ways in which we use that word of users. It's the drug industry, they're users, right? Heroin addicts, meth addicts, they're users. And then also social media. People on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok, on the internet, they're users. That's really telling of how these industries, right? The drugs and then also the social media are really tailoring everything about the experience for people to use more frequently, to use for longer periods of times, to be users, to be enslaved, really, to, and I know that's a really strong word, but to use their products and to suck, like I said, as a vacuum, suck away our attention, our time, our energy. It's enough. This is how we get back to presence, okay? I'm gonna give it to you now. And I'm gonna give it to you explaining it, but really the only way that you do it is yourself. You are the only one that can choose to be present. And the practice of contrast therapy is one of the biggest ways in which you can choose daily or weekly to be present. It's one of the biggest benefits, even more than the biohacking and the dopamine and the inflammation and the cardiovascular health and the immunity boost, even more than all of these benefits that you hear from the biohacking community and from the holistic health community about saunas and cold plunge. Even more than all of that, one of the biggest benefits that you can have with contrast therapy is a practice of presence. So when I go to the sauna, I don't listen to music. A lot of the times, sometimes I do, but a lot of the times I don't listen to music. I don't read a book. I sit there. I sit there and I breathe. And when my mind begins to wander, I bring myself back to my breath. I bring myself back to my presence. And I sit in the sauna just for 20 minutes. It's not sitting there for hours on end or for days. It's sitting there for 20 to 30 minutes in the sauna. And I begin to get separation from my thoughts, and the stories that I'm telling myself, the narratives about how stressful my life is, the narratives about how hard my life is. And I do have stressful things and hard things that happen in my life. But much of my suffering, much of the hand that I'm playing in my own suffering is the stories and the narratives and my mind spiraling on what is happening, spiraling on the circumstances. And then I'm putting myself a lot of the times in a victim mentality. We'll have more on that on a later video. So if this stuff is interesting to you, like and subscribe to this channel so that you can get more and more the evolution of these videos. But I sit there and some people would call this meditate, or I contemplate, or I ponder, or I simply just think. And I allow my thoughts to go. And as I sit there in silence, and as I sit there in solitude, and I sit there in the sauna, I begin to sweat, I begin to detox, I begin to be still in my inner world. I get to unplug from my phone, from the distractions of my outer reality, and just detox, decompress, de-escalate. Because a lot of times my life feels very escalated. It feels like going, running, and I never get a break from when my alarm goes off to when I put my phone down at night and go to bed. There's no breaks, there's no pauses, there's no peace. Peace is always there, I believe. It's a frequency that's always there. I just have to begin to detach, detox, decompress, de-escalate, pause, and then I begin to feel this peace that was always there. And the sauna is one of the best places in which that I've been able to do this. Even more so than when I am driving or when I'm on my meditation cushion in the morning. For some reason, it's something about the sauna, it's something about the infrared heat that is putting me in a state of decompression and detoxification in order for me to drop into this state of peace, which is this state of presence. Now, sometimes, if I'm being honest, a lot of the times, don't get there. I don't get to this state of peace. I don't get to the state of decompression, of detoxing, of letting my mind be still and pause for a moment. Sometimes when I'm sitting there in the silence and in the sauna, my mind actually just continues to run. It continues to run. And it's like a train. I just keep jumping on the train and keep riding the train and keep riding the train. And there's another thought. I jump on that train and I ride it. And all of these trains of thoughts that I can't just actually sit back and watch the trains. I just keep getting on the next one. And that's okay. I don't beat myself up about this. I don't feel shame. I don't feel guilt. The practice is in the practice. I'm just practicing. But on these times where I can't get off the trains and I can't slow down and I can't be still, what's really, really impactful for me after I've sat in the sauna for 20 minutes is I get out of the sauna and I jump in the cold plunge. And if I wasn't present before, if I was stressing before, and if my mind was running before, as soon as I get in to the cold water, I'm present. Whatever I was worrying about, whatever I was stressing about is gone. It's out of my mind, and I'm just thinking about this cold plunge. I'm just thinking about the state that my body is in. And that's one of the biggest things about presence, and I'm sure I'll do an entire video about cold plunging and presence. So subscribe so you don't miss that video. But one of the biggest things about cold plunges is it gets you completely in your body. When we're not present, we're in our minds, we're in our heads, right? We're reeling, we're overthinking, we're up here. We're in the past, we're in the future. Our minds have this unique ability to time travel, to be in different time zones. Am I in the past right now? Am I in the present, or am I in the future? That's a really good question to ask yourself. A lot of the times I spend time in the past or in the future, but whenever I'm in a cold plunge, I'm in the present. And it's because my, brain, scientifically speaking, I'm in my fight or flight. My brain is completely drawing me to my present moment awareness and to my present experience. And through the power of my breath, I can actually calm that fight or flight, and I can actually remain present and remain and cultivate this sense of calm within the chaos of my physical cold water, frigid experience. And this practice translates into, I hope you're getting the connection, translates into every area of your life. When you're dealing with stress, when you're not present, when you're in the past, when you're in the future, when you're in the distractions, when you're in the stress, when you're in the noise, so much noise around you, and there's no noise, and there's so much noise inside of you. Doing a sauna and letting that noise and letting those thoughts and letting those distractions kind of just play out and simmer down and settle down and pause, and peace might creep in. And then getting in the cold plunge and becoming present in an instant and focusing on your breath. In my next video, I'm actually going to talk about breath work that we use in the sauna and in the cold plunge. But the breath, coupled with contrast therapy, is such a potent tool for presence to recover from mind, body ailments or struggles, to revitalize, to refresh, to rejuvenate. Using the sauna, using the cold plunge, and using the breath, coupled with this modality of the breath, is so powerful. So my next video is going to be all about the breath. And specifically, I'm going to teach you for your sauna routine and your cold plunge routine what breath works you can do to heighten your experience of the sauna and of the cold plunge. But yeah, I think that's all I've got for today. Come to Polarity Plunge, because this is one of the biggest benefits that we focus so much on. In Polarity Plunge, it's not just about the biohacking, it's not just about the inflammation and the recovery and the dopamine and the endorphins of the cold plunge. It is all about that. We'll tailor your experience exactly to what you want and to what you need in your holistic health, whether it's more the mind or more the body. And it will also be about taking a break from your day-to-day, from the noise, from the distraction, from the attention, which then turns into the worship of all of these different facets of our life, and just bringing our attention and our intent to the present moment. Those are two powerful, attention and intent, two powerful things that we work with here at Polarity Plunge, so that you can become what you already were underneath it all, present. Presence is the antidote for much of the problems that we face today, whether those problems be in our own minds or whether those problems be in our external reality and in our circumstances. Presence is the key. So much love, keep smiling, hope to see you at Polarity Plunge soon. You can book in our website and we can dive even deeper on anything that resonated with all of these things that I've mentioned today. Much love and keep smiling.